Blog Talk Radio.
Michael, I've called you on Skype and bring you in on the show. I can't get on you. You seem busy. Please make it available on Skype so I can get you on the show. Thank you. Hello, everybody. How you doing tonight? Welcome to Beyond the Gate Radio. This is our Sunday. Actually, not Sunday. This is our Friday, November 1st edition of Beyond the Gate Radio, a special show. And our guest tonight is Michael Vanderpool, astrologer. And actually, I am not your host, David M. Baker. I'm your co-host. Michael is the host. This is his show tonight. This is the second show, and I want to tell you a little bit about Michael tonight. He returns to talk about heartbreak and more interesting subjects. Now I'm going to just tell you a little bit about him for those of you who may be listening for the first time, and a refresher for those of you who may have heard it before. He's an astrologer and intuitive consultant. He's Reverend Dr. Michael R. Vanderpool. And he's an intuitive astrologer, and he's internationally known and traveled in over 24 countries, and a member of the Magi Society, the APA, which is the American Press Association, and Legal Shield. He is also former nursing home and administrative assistant and a black belt in Taekwondo, which, by the way, so am I. But I don't do it anymore since my physical condition is not as good, but I can still stand my ground. Anyway, he uses Magi astrology, other astrology, and his intuition to predict life events and times with you weeks or months before these events take place. And he will also help you navigate the course ahead and have a deeper insight into the soul and timing for best success, combined with cutting-edge research in the most modern-day astrology. By aura, video, and character, he is a true indigo also. He is also the author of extremely accurate predictive ebook, A Storm Warning for Israel, Spring and Summer, 2007. Check him out on YouTube. Now, there's YouTube and Facebook astrological heads up for May, June of 2011 was again down to the day accurate. UN meeting in Rome, Italy, May 5th, 2011. This is something that he stated, and it was proven to come true. Like the psychic twins, I mean, this man is totally amazing. That's why we have him on the show. In sum total so far, he has made over 5 successful, public, accurate, documented, published, and beforehand predictions on major geopolitical events and financial market moves a month or 2 months in advance before they actually happen, down to the week or even day they happen. See his documented proof of this site for more, for example, because he has lots of information there, and his fixed star angle on the moment at birth is Menkar, the empath, interpreted as one who can sense or know the future. For more information, go to Michael's website, which is posted. If you're listening to the show now, look at the bio, scroll down. His website link is right there. It's universalstar.gs/about. It's all there, folks. I'm not going to go through all that, but I'll have Michael repeat it, but it's there. If you really care, check it out. And before I bring Michael on, I just want to tell you that, okay, Michael, he asked me about my astrology chart. I'm very fascinated about astrology and always have. I'm a psychic medium and all that. So I said, okay, because I've had from other people that I've known, regular people, kitchen table to celebrity psychic, give me my astrological chart in a reading to what's going on in my life. But only Michael, the person that is the actual host for the show tonight, has given me the most in-depth, most detailed, and most accurate reading that I have ever had, and I stake my reputation on the line. This was totally, totally amazing. You have to listen to Michael tonight because he's an amazing person. He's a man of the world. He's kind of like a news reporter, a CIA agent, a man that's in a white light to help the world. I mean, this guy is so amazing. I'm just going to bring him in right now and let him start talking, and I'm going to be quiet. Michael, you are the host. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that very nice introduction. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. I mean, when I first started the radio show, I'm going to my 4th year now, I was willing to help out, new psychics and mediums to get their word out, and then, also the higher profile psychics, mediums, paranormal investigators, UFO investigators, and all that. We want to bring things that go beyond the gate to people that are willing to listen. But we support every guest that we have on, and I'm fascinated. Now, lately, I seem to be attracted to more high-profile people, but only it's because they have a proven track record. And we want them on the show because it seems to have helped out a lot of people. And, all I got to say about you, and I've had you on, rarely do I have somebody on this soon, once again, after the show. Kevin Schopel, of course, Truth About the Bible, Truth About Psychics and Spiritual Gifts will be on again, too. But you're on really soon because you are Michael Vanderpool, man of mystery. And that's the way I really feel about you.
Well, thank you. There have been some interesting things that have happened lately. As you had mentioned, I'm a member of the American Press Association, so I've done some journalism over where I'm currently located, which is the Republic of Georgia, the international city. It's the capital of the country, too. It's Tbilisi, Tbilisi. And so it's been quite an adventure. Also, in terms of prediction, I had published to Facebook, my Facebook, in the notes section on July 29th, 2013, an astrological analysis of the next president of the Republic of Georgia. A Georgian had asked me who I thought would win, and specifically if the candidate who has now been elected to presidency would win, and I looked and noted very, very strongly that he would be the winner of this just last presidential election of the country of Georgia, which just took place October 27th as far as the actual casting of the votes. And I think he's actually scheduled for inauguration November 17th. So this is just another public prediction that just came to pass. And the journalism that I was doing involved at one point going down to a city here called Devani, which is on the border, the so-called administrative borderline with what's sometimes called a breakaway region, or what's in reality an occupied area of Georgia. It's occupied by Russian troops, which is a situation that's left over from the 2008 August war between Georgia and Russia. And what was taking place there is that the foreign ministry here was stating that there were 65 Georgian families that had lost their houses or property or land. And a lot of these lands, in this case, literally feed the people. They literally feed the families. There was one family where I was interviewing one of the members, and she was talking about the situation there. And while the interview was taking place, she was collecting apples and grapes. And one of the things that she had lost or had come into the occupation of the Russians was this so-called administrative border line that had been moved. So this was a situation where later I was actually on the border itself, the razor wire fence. It was there, and we were with a soldier, a Georgian soldier, interviewing a man there. And it's interesting because after that had taken place, they were talking about even moving that particular border, several meters forward, like 50 meters or another. I think there were reports that the borderline had moved 300 meters in some places. And so after this was published to YouTube, and a lot of people throughout the country of Georgia were in protest over this, including a group of 30 journalists who had visited the same place I was at, the government here finally announced that for now the situation had stopped, that they were not anticipating that border to be moved further into Georgian territory. And during that interview with this man, I was actually under the watch of snipers up on the hill. So it was just like something you'd see out of a movie, quite literally.
Well, that's really amazing. I was wondering, some of the things you were talking about. This goes beyond being an astrologer and an indigo person, child, and intuitive and all that. With your spiritual gifts, you are guided to, do things for the world, to help people. And you have about you a warrior personality, and you have a spiritual personality. Some people would call, Mother God, male, feminine, great balance, and all that. Now, I've noticed that, when you were over there recently, actually where you're at now, why is it that, what's the goal of Russia? It used to be the USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and then the wall collapsed. Now it's Russia again. They gave up a lot of its territories. The East Germany and all that. Now, why is it moving a fence? Are they being persnickety, or are they trying to be sneaky, moving their border and reclaiming land in a low-key way? Or they couldn't make it in Afghanistan, and they had a lot of failures, but they never give up. What is going on with that? If you don't mind me asking, I know this may be a little bit off subject, but what's going on with that?
Well, that's a very good question. It seems that the president of Georgia, the current president, which is Mikhail Saakashvili, had an interesting article that was published, and his response was basically that his feeling is that the purpose was in this creeping occupation, that by moving in a kind of step-by-step way, they would actually come in and incur upon the pipelines through here, the energy pipelines, oil, gas, whatever. I think in this case, their concern was that they would actually be moving in toward the energy pipelines there through the country. And also, it seems to me to be a lot of times these things are psychological operations, if you will. This is just my perspective. I've been here a total of 4 years in this particular area of the world, actually 5 if we consider I was present during the Orange Revolution in Kiev, Ukraine, where at the time my then interpreter and personal assistant, Yulia, who was actually present when I wrote the book A Storm Warning for Israel, spring-summer 2007, when we were later in Panama together, the Republic of Panama. This actually goes back quite a ways. The whole story gets quite complicated because, she herself, you mentioned the warrior personality. She's actually went on to become U.S. Army Airborne and U.S. Special Operations. So we went, the warrior energy is very, very, very strong. I think this could even have, in my opinion, go back to past lives. This is something that I've thought for many years now because she has herself become quite the warrior. But in total, back to the situation with Russia, I think that there is a lot of kind of testing and psychological operations that goes on with these situations, because in previous situations here where things got hot with some politics or situations in the country of Georgia, you would see the raising of the number of troops from Russia in occupied Georgian territory raised to a maximum level. For example, during the period of the last parliamentary elections, this took place, and we would see a press release or a statement from the Georgian foreign ministry, and they would talk about how they're concerned that the Russian troop levels had raised to a maximum level. And this is all very unusual because this is actually a pretty strong ally of the United States. Recently, when the Russians made a so-called friendly visit to Cuba, I think that was earlier this year. I'd have to go back and check the exact date on that. But they actually had a destroyer and some other personnel and ships show up in Cuba. And I think within a week or so, an American destroyer finally arrives here to Batumi, or to the port city here in Georgia, that was met with the Georgian president and the Georgian prime minister, who actually, I think it was the prime minister who actually boarded the ship, actually, in this case. So, that allowed us to have a presence. I'm talking about the Americans. It allowed the United States to have a presence right on Russia's doorstep in the situation. So these things a lot of times have not only a symbolic meaning, but I think a lot of times it's psychological operations. It's also to say that if no one puts a stop to it, they would just come in and occupy the entire country. So I think another interesting thing is that I read that both NATO and the United States had put out a call to Russia to respect Georgia's territorial integrity. So, in essence, if there's any reasons at all, I would, from the observations I've had being in Georgia for some total of over 4 years, the first time having been back in 2005, I would say that a lot of it is psychological, actually. That's just how I take it.
In the military, we call that geopolitics, and specifically area, it would be metropolitics, but no, an ongoing operation for, a purpose with a determined outcome or hopeful outcome would be called psyops, or as you call it, psychological operations. And I know that you want to have some shows dealing with this as well, which is a very important cause. Anything we can do to help others whomever is an important cause. I won't go too deep in that because I'm kind of a little scary, because I've had shows with different people, including about UFOs. Like everybody knows Nick Pope from the MOD in the UK. He's the author. He's been on the History Channel. Nick Pope. And I had somebody else on who had something specific to say about the UFOs. And he warned me prior to the show that, David, when I get into this specific subject, you could be cut off the air, something could happen, whatever. And I said, nah, go ahead. And I guess after the first hour he got into that subject, my show went dead, and I had to get back in. But on the recording, he and I both heard somebody laughing in the background and said, well, we got him good. We effectively, closed him out or something like that. And then I was able to get back in the show. And a week to the day later, I heard a loud thumping over my home. Now, I've been in the military. I know what military helicopters look like. I've been in them and lots of other stuff. And I hear this loud thump, thump, thump. I run outside the house, and there's a black, unmarked helicopter flying right over my house. And I said, oh, my God, this stuff must be true. So, I have to be careful what I do and say. I mean, So, anyway, so you plan to have some amazing shows about many things, and I know you can have a large following. We have a couple of callers on the line right now. Before we get into your subject, are you willing to take one call for right now? Because this person has been holding since before the show started, and then we get into your subject?
Sure, no problem.
Just for fun?
Sure.
Okay. Let me see. Sharilla's not here, so we have a caller from the 509 area code, 509. Welcome to Beyond the Gate. Hello? Yes, 509 area code, that's you. Where are you calling from, and what is your name, please?
I'm calling from Spokane, Washington, and my name is Elizabeth.
Okay, Elizabeth, we haven't really gotten to the main subject tonight, but obviously, Michael, and we haven't, started talking on the topic yet, but if you have a question, go ahead.
I just wanted to see if you could just on your own see anything maybe about my health.
Are you talking about the things that are going on in your house, or about the
health.
Changing of a house?
No, health.
Are you talking HOUSE, correct?
Like health? No, HEALTH.
Yeah. Oh, hell.
Yeah.
Okay. Michael, do you have any input on that?
Hi. Well, usually, I don't usually do too much with that. I always tell people they need to see their, a professional medical or health practitioner, and that I don't, of course, I don't diagnose or do anything with disease or anything like that.
Sure.
I'm not a medical doctor. But it's typically what I'm doing is I'm usually getting that from the charts. So, I can look in, if you'll provide me with your birth date.
Anything you see? Sure. September 6, 1975.
Sure. Okay, one moment. I'll look that up here. And what city?
Spokane.
Were you born? Okay.
Oh, Harbor, California.
Harbor, California. Okay. So, I'm looking right now just to see what's happening, and I think as far as any, you probably, would want be checking up with anything to do with how your blood sugar is working, and maybe keep an eye on how you're doing with that kind of issue. And I think that actually right now I don't see anything that's really terribly menacing. If that's the kind of thing that I don't know if you worry too much, or if you need to maybe look at how you're thinking about things, or dealing with stress. But a lot of times what we're thinking, how we're looking at things in our life, can create better health or make worse health, as far as like what kind of thoughts we're having, as far as how much anxiety that we're experiencing. I don't know if that's a problem that you experience more than usual.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'd like to step in too and say, see your dietitian, go for another exam, look at your upper respiratory system and your blood system, because there is the onset of, we don't give medical reasons on the show, but there is the onset of something which you have noticed, and I think some of it has to do with weight, food intake, and stress. Take a look at where you were when you were feeling better, and what the difference is, in your life right now besides age. You may or may not want to see a dietitian. You may want to see a medical person to tell them what's going on, to assist you. That's very important. You should see them and listen to what Michael said, because it makes a lot of sense. I'm pretty much getting the same thing that he is. Hopefully that's helpful to you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, this is really a fantastic time as well to go ahead and pursue those things. It's a very, very good time to get started. That's something a lot of people, the power of decision and taking action is it's something that really can put you in the right place with the situation, I think.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much,
thank
young
you very
lady.
much.
Sure. And I'll put you on mute. You may continue to listen to the show this way if you wish. Thank you for calling, and we hope we helped you. Okay. Take care.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. Bye.
All right.
Yes, nice speaking with you, Elizabeth.
Well, Michael, a lot of people listen to this show for many reasons. One is, to get some insight on something, or maybe, get a little help, advice, or whatever. But hopefully this show can, bring to people knowledge and entertainment at the same time. And that's what we strive for. So now you mentioned something about a new subject that you want to mention tonight on the show. Are you ready to start talking about that?
Sure. We can talk about that. Excuse me. We're talking about the astrology of heartbreak.
That is correct. The astrology of heartbreak. That seems to be a big issue, because when I'm mostly as a guest on other shows, and I want me to do readings, 1/3 of the readings I get are relationships, and they have to do with that too, So I'm sure a lot of people will be very interested in this.
Yeah, it's really quite fascinating for me, because I went through a very difficult period in a relationship. And so I studied very intensely the particular astrology that's related to relationships. It's also something that is said in my Vedic astrology chart, which I have kept an eye on as well. And there's a great book on that by Pandit Parsai, which is the predictive side of Vedic astrology. In any case, I've got some planetary alignments in there that would make me a so-called expert in the area of relationships. And I feel like it's one of those heaven-hell scenarios where, if you want somebody to help guide you through something in life, would you want somebody that's been through heaven or who has been through hell, or maybe a little bit of both? And because the experience gives you an ability to relate to people and to see things and to have an empathy, perhaps, that would be lacking in someone who's only, let's say, been happily married all their life and never been through hell, let's say. And I'm one of those people who's been through hell and with relationships, but it's reflected in the Vedic astrology chart in that that gives you a lot of practical experience in the ability to guide others with some of that. And when it comes to Magi astrology, that's M-A-G-I, there are some very, very interesting modern discoveries on the astrology of love and money, and particularly love, with those studies having been on over 100,000 people for over a period of 20 years. It's very scientific. This particular part of Magi astrology is scientific, actually, very scientific. And that's a modern study on a modern finding about how important the astrology of Chiron is. And so what we find is that, for example, when there is Saturn or Saturn midpoint, Saturn Chiron midpoint applying clash to natal Chiron, the sun or the earth or the moon in the Magi astrology chart, these are periods or transits in a person's life that are very harsh or very hard on issues of love or money, but particularly love. And if it's in a looped heartbreak transit, or that transit of Saturn or Saturn Chiron midpoint clashing to natal Chiron, then we have a situation where there can even be a loss or losses taken. And usually we'll find that, it can be situations that someone has lost a partner, someone's marriage is lost or challenged. I've seen situations where relationships have broke up because of losses outside of that immediate relationship, but then that becomes an aggravating factor to the relationship. And I've also seen issues with challenges or losses in terms of money or career. So identifying periods like this and being aware of them is very, very important for those people that really care to put forth the effort to try to change their future or to try to save a relationship, if you will. That kind of knowledge of the weather in a person's life can really help save a relationship. I just had a friend who is in L.A. himself. He's actually from my home city. He went through a looped heartbreak transit, and he was in a situation where he actually wanted to break up with his girlfriend during that period. And he is very devout Catholic. He's actually a confirmed Catholic. We've been friends since I was 13 years old. And I'm now 43. So it was quite fascinating that over the years he's become a little bit more open to astrology, and he's seen me do some very interesting things, including with his own personal astrology in the past years. And so he took the advice, which was, if you're going to break up with somebody, you try to do it outside of this type of transit, because in Magi astrology's theory of natalization, he would be natalizing the breakup itself with heartbreak. And if you want to break up with somebody, you want a clean break. You want to do it with as least amount of additional heartbreak or bad luck, if you will, or complications. And so in our theory, you would wait till you're out of this window of heartbreak or this window of bad luck, if you will. And so he said, well, look, it's not going to make any difference. I'm breaking up with the girl anyway. What's it matter if it's going to be another 3 weeks if we're together or not? And so, and I in this particular situation, I said, look, your one thing you're going to be able to do here is you're going to be able to at least say, hey, we made it for 1 year, because it was going to actually be their 1 year anniversary before this transit was over, and I was advising him to wait, please wait until this is over. And then, if you want to break up with her, break up with her. And so he did. He took my advice in the situation, and he waited. And then he broke up with her. But the fascinating thing is that within about 3 to 4 weeks, I'm seeing photos of them still together and attending some rather major events there, and L.A., and it's something I've seen on Facebook. And anyway, so I mean that's an example of timing, and working with Heaven's workshop, if you will. That if you can find and use this knowledge, then it empowers you with more choice, with more decision. But here's a situation where you have someone who is confirmed Catholic, quite religious, we're very close friends, and yet when he calls me, I know it's no surprise he's wanting to break up with his girlfriend, and they had from my perspective, quite nice relationship. It wasn't anything, to my mind, into I think what would be for most of us, it wasn't anything that problematic, if you will, and so it was a beautiful thing to see that they're still together.
That's totally amazing. Now I want to step back a little bit and throw in some stuff. Not really a monkey wrench in the works, but no. Back in the 70s, I guess, I started reading Jeannie Dixon's horoscopes because I was amazed that, she predicted in a couple of years that a president will die in office, and Kennedy did. She didn't get the right person, but she got it pretty much accurate. But, my horoscopes were pretty cool, too. And, life is a learning process. A lot of us go through major downfalls in our life, but it's when we pick ourselves back up that we come back stronger, which happened to me and other people I know. And I learned something from my relationships. And that's, a lot of bad relationships, marriages, and other bad things, but I learned from them all. So when I found my current relationship, I applied everything that I learned from that and made this a better relationship. But also, no matter what religion you are, where you are located on this earth, or who you are, it does not matter. Everybody and rulers back, way back, thousands of years, have looked to the stars for help and answers, and it doesn't matter. They have always came through, and people predicted who's going to be a ruler in Greece, or if Alexander the Great was going to win, if Napoleon was should go to Persia to fight. They all went to see astrologers, which is totally amazing. Now, so I'm validating what you do. Yeah, big time. It's true. Your reading to me was totally amazing. And before I say my point, to answer one of the questions that you said, that something happened when the stars were right recently, that I got the movie and TV offer and all these different things came in. I didn't do anything. They just came to me. So it wasn't me initiating that. It was just me initiating that, okay, I'm ready to come back and do stuff. So that's amazing right there. But what is the Magi Society? I'm very, very intrigued about that. Is it a secret society? Is it special? Can you tell me a little bit about the Magi Society? I'm really, really intrigued about that.
Sure, David, and congratulations on the projects that you're starting to put together. I think that's really exciting, and I really want to congratulate you for that. And just to touch upon your personal astrology, that Chiron trine the sun and progression that you have is absolutely fabulous, and it's fantastic for the path you have ahead. And I was really, really excited to see that when we looked at the progressions there that you have in the Magi astrology chart. The Magi Society, and I want to give them thanks both to you for having me on again, but also to the Magi Society, which is indeed formerly a secret society that started with a group of Shaolin monks in China in 1625. And they were legendary astrologers, and they've continued that tradition until this day. Excuse me. Until this day, they've continued that tradition, which gives them even more depth of insight with the modern research that the Magi Society continues to do to this day. And it's they have the websites and the free mini ebook, the astrology of love and money is freely available there, and it's something that anybody can get a really good introduction to just by reading that ebook, Magi Astrology: The Key to Success in Love and Money by the Magi Society. So this is there are a lot of secrets still, if you will. One has to consult with a certified Magi astrologer to get kind of a, let's say there's a lot of research that's not been released yet, that it's still being developed, that it's still being worked with in terms of, the very cutting edge of what's happening with Magi astrology. But the tools that we do have and what is available freely on their websites and in their books is quite empowering, and it's something that anybody can learn. So this is quite an old society, and not only is it going back to 1625 from its origins, but it's also, as an organization itself, the wealthiest astrological organization in the world, and 1/3 of the membership fully has PhD level of education. So it's quite for the astrology organizations in the world, it's quite a prestigious group, actually.
Well, that's totally amazing. I'd like to know more about them. Now, I was wondering, people wonder, well, how does astrology work? How can I just be born and the stars say this about me when that's not my energy and this and that, and then, whoops, maybe it's right. Going outside of the realm a little bit on the precipice, if I must say, if a spirit said, okay, I'm going to incarnate to Earth and do this and this and whatever, could there be a guide there that says, okay, wait till the stars are positioned this way, because what's written into your Akashic record is also written in the stars. So you're born that proper time. And sure enough, when your astrology chart was written, because you were born, that's why you want to know all the information. And sure enough, everything resonates with what you said and what I've done. And I said, that's shocking. I came upon that information, and I think I was saying to myself, man, this is not, something that, people look at the stars. I mean, they've been doing this for eons, for thousands of years, since the beginning of mankind, and over and over again, this has been so accurate that I'm just totally, look at the stars. I don't know how to do that, but when I listen to somebody like you that's experienced it, has that knowledge and understanding of it, and then you give me the incredible reading that you did. I'm saying, you did read my book, and some stuff you did not know. And the stuff you told me that happened, certain years around the 70s, and certain years around the 80s, and other years, I mean, chills went up my spine. I mean, that's totally true. What you said, in my chart, I was just shocked. Like, my God, this is true. I mean, some of the information you cannot have found out from anywhere, and yet you said it dead on. So, also, what you do, does it have anything to do with horoscopes, or is that a myth, or can you touch on that a little bit?
Well, there are some horoscopes that I've seen Magi Astrologer put out. It's not something that I'm doing yet. What I'm doing is really working with people a lot on finding some of the most positive times in their life, and then some of the more challenging times in their life. The heartbreak of astrology, or conversely, more success type of energy, and in a way that can either give them kind of some defense or strategy against things that may come in that period, or to really have a kind of a diving board, so to speak, to really pinpoint a time to jump out and get into the water and really start going for it, kind of swim the race, so to speak. And on the other hand, I've done the kind of consults where it's just general, and we're looking at everything just to see what's happening, the whole picture. But it's very easy for me to point out the power of astrology when I can find the extremes, if you will, because a lot of people won't get it if it's subtle, and there are certainly subtle influences. But if it's those big impacts in life, whether it's extreme positive or extreme negative, they usually find out pretty quick just how accurate we can be. And
I found out pretty quick. So, using the show as a sounding board, and I want you to do it. No. That is, if the time avails you to do it. No, do you have anything you want to say, any announcements or anything like, are you going to do? Some shows here, your own shows, or both, or do you have any plans, or are the wheels turning for something? Can you tell us anything? Well,
I have. I do want to do a show on astrology with you on your platform here, and I would like to go ahead and get that pursued. And I've been planning that for a while, as you know. So it depends on what develops with this other, in terms of the journalism that I've been doing and some of the more events happening in the area that I'm in right now. For example, it's not always easy for me to be where I'm at. It's quite difficult, to be quite frank about it. So, however, those are such unusual events that I've been involved with in these last days. I've actually been considering a government-related, well, you'd say it's a non-government-related project in a way, but it actually involves quite a lot of contact with people in the government here. And so it depends on, what develops in that way, but that's another consideration, is that on the topics we spoke about earlier, as far as some geopolitical news, that might be something that I look at in terms of a radio format as well. I've also met some very interesting people this last year, including Donald Rumsfeld. I think it was maybe not this last year, but the year before.
On the plane, I remember that, yes.
That was quite fascinating for me as the author of A Storm Warning for Israel, Spring, Summer 2007, because it was quite a fascinating scenario in which there was probably about 30 people on a flight, a jet, British Midland International BMI flight, and we actually flew over the Caspian Sea together, and Donald was sitting in the front of the plane with his wife, and to my left is who I found out later, I suspected, but I found out later by getting his book and seeing it's about Known Unknowns. And I saw photographs of his family in there, and I knew that it was to my direct left, two girls in his family, and directly behind me, the seat behind me, was one of the men in his family. And we had some small talk that night as we flew over the beautiful Caspian Sea into Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan. And then from Baku, we flew into Tbilisi, the Republic of Georgia. And it was a dramatic flight because there was lightning and thunder and a lot of rain. And at one point, Donald had come back with a very kind of a beautiful, positive, but very confident smile and was speaking to, the girls. And I think that, I posted about it on Facebook, and there were some people that gave some very nasty opinions about my, even mentioning Donald Rumsfeld. And I said to them, I have to have a newfound respect for the Rumsfeld family because they're still in a very strong way in service to our country. And at his age, I was absolutely amazed to see him actually working and active in the service of our country. And he's got quite an interesting autobiography himself. I've also, earlier this year and last year as well, I'd met Billy Edward Albert Meyer in Switzerland, speaking previously about UFO cases.
Oh, yeah, I love that guy. I believe him, too. I believe him.
This has been a major, it's one of the most important stories ever in that I've come across. And I actually was there just in September of this year. And the first time I had been there was actually in August of 2012. And so, and I love Switzerland. Switzerland is a fantastic place to travel. The trains there and the scenery from the trains is just really fantastic. So yeah, I was able to meet with Billy for 2 different times now, and there's a book called "And Still They Fly" by Guido Musburger. This is one of the best books I've ever seen on that topic of UFOs myself. I know there's a lot out there, and there's a lot yet I need to learn about that. But I like, back to astrology, it talks about when we are born in the world, the time that they say that is to use for the moment of birth is when the head crowns the birth canal and takes on the imprint of the cosmic energies. And so, it's nice with Magi astrology that we don't need the exact birth time. In that, we're using the very ancient style of astrology in a different way of calculation. So it's not so necessary to know the exact birth time, but in Vedic astrology or Western astrology, for example, it's quite necessary to know the exact birth time. But a lot of people don't, there's certain births that it's hard to know how to define the time. And at least in the material put forth by Meyer, that gives us a very precise definition of when to time the actual birth time. And it's quite an astrological explanation in that the crowning of the head, at that moment, you're taking on the imprint of the cosmic energies. And so astrologically, that's how we get some information to work with in one area of this very scientific study, actually. So I'll mention this. I also had the great privilege of and honor of spending some time with a Christian missionary in my mom's nursing home, Highland Home for Seniors. And it was during a heartbreak period that I had returned to meet with this woman who had traveled to Africa. And she, at the age of 40, had founded and developed a hospital there for children, for giving birth. So I think she actually, at one point, I had talked with her, and she was 93 years old. And she was recalling the stories of her life, and she was a midwife and helped actually deliver a child in the middle of the road there in Rwanda. And so she had many fascinating stories. I considered her a spiritual warrior, and I was sitting on my mom's porch at Highland Home for Seniors, and I was speaking with her about her days in Africa, about her life. And she had such a strong love for helping people and bringing change to the world. And it was during a transdimensional heartbreak in Magi astrology that I had foreseen a death and actually a funeral. I was getting images from this coming event in my life. And there was some speculation by me, and I was telling my family about it. That's something that's been difficult for them to deal with. Because they don't, having a gift or an unusual ability, it's not something that everybody, it's very challenging. But they had seen enough from me to know that there was probably something to it. And unfortunately, it was the death of this woman that had taken place in this time. And so it was very dramatic because she had actually had a stroke. I was there and kind of manage the situation until my mom, along with another staff person, until my mom was able to arrive. And it's sad for me because she was a great woman, and 10 days later was actually when she passed, and we attended the funeral, and I was making a video, and I had seen myself already in the future making this video about a funeral that I had just attended. So when I say that I've met some very important people, I'd say that this is certainly one of the most important people as well. That's maybe a little bit unusual. She'll be someone that most people outside of our community or the community she served in Africa, for example, may never know. But she's someone that left a very strong and important impact on the world. And I have to say that it was such a close and touching event to me that it was an element of my personal heartbreak It was hard to, it's a tough business that my family's in. I used to do this type of work. I used to run one of our family nursing care homes for 5 years, and I've always been around the business since that time. And a lot of times I was there for 2 months this past summer. So it's in my travels, it's one of the stories that I'll always remember. And I met her back home on the family's nursing home porch. So it's quite, I don't know why she was herself an international traveler, if you will. And it's one of the more beautiful stories, but it came out of a time for heartbreak for me. And that's how that's manifested in that particular transit. Well,
we're given all the tools and everything, the meetings of people, the going to places that we need. We may not realize it at the time. We may look back on it later and realize, oh my God, if this hadn't happened, where would I be, or whatever. A lot of light workers have been through a lot of hard stuff. Like I was homeless and lost everything, yet I came back big time. And not only that, but, it's the people you meet. And it's really funny because I was married to a Chinese girl before. And I'm married to a black girl right now. And the Chinese girl that I was married to before, my ex-wife, said in San Francisco, she was on the bus in Chinatown, and these Chinese ladies, she was sitting on the bench in the front. And these older Chinese ladies were sitting on the bench opposite her, behind the driver. And this black lady gets on and asks her to move and sit down. And the Chinese ladies go, and say some stuff in Chinese to her, right, about her. And they're like, oh, look, the black devil's going to come sit down by us. And then the black lady said to them in perfect Mandarin, I was a missionary in China. I understood every word you said. Boy, their faces turned cherry red real fast. It's funny. But, there's just the way life is. I had bad relationships and all that. But, the people you meet and everything. Now, I'm afraid of you in some things because you're a bold warrior. Like you have interviewed heads of state and diplomats and important people and people that are spies. Oh, my God. No, I was in the military, I had top secret clearance and did stuff, and I know a little bit about that because I had a couple of episodes in the military with something like that. But, whenever you talk about that, it kind of scares me because then I think, I'm talking to Michael Vanderpool now. I'm going to be monitored by NSA or somebody. They're going to be listening to my stuff. Sometimes I'm afraid to talk to you because, some of the stuff, you're bold and brave, the stuff that you get into. You're a warrior. I'm really, really impressed and amazed. And how can you do what you do?
Well, in one sense, I have to thank the Georgian people because I had actually put on Facebook about the border situation, for example, in Georgia, that maybe I should just have to go down there myself and check it out, as many were, even the journalists here, already going there and making protests nationwide about this problem. And I would say that, it wouldn't have been possible without the help of the Georgian people. And so I think in my travels around the world, I've noticed that, it's the way of humanity to lend each other a hand and to help each other along. And the Georgian people are known for their hospitality. This is something that they've had and been known for worldwide in their 5,000 years history or more, actually. And so in all, you have to have a sense of humanity, and it may be well misunderstood by many. Misunderstandings is something that we'll have to continue to deal with as individuals, as nations, as a humanity, but it's a struggle worth enduring.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to tell listeners, the show's about to end. stay tuned for more of Michael Vanderpool. And the last show you did with us, I checked, and you had thousands of hits already. Have it just floored. So hopefully this show has thousands of hits. Man, I wish you great success. We work together, or you do solo, whatever you want. But you're an amazing person, and we love you. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
I love you too. Thank you.
Okay, Michael. Good night. God bless, and thank you everybody for listening to Beyond the Gate Radio. Good night.